I can't remember who I had talked to, but they said they went out to LA somewhere around 84 and they saw Poison at a club, and they said they were huge at that time.
Oh, no, they were. They would sell out 2 nights at the Country Club, which was one of the bigger venues. With their eyes closed, they would sell it out. When Atlantic passed, we couldn't believe it. I still have the demos in my garage, the Atlantic demos that we did.
You know, I interviewed Ric Browde.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the band didn't like Rick.
I was going to say, because the contrast between your interview and his interview were like day and night. I had actually interviewed him before we did our interview, and I just thought, I'm going to hold off because he was so brutal that I was like, I'm going to release yours first.
Yeah. The band didn't like him. He didn't like being there. He stopped coming probably 6 days into the record. He stopped showing up, which was fine with everybody. He was a good friend of CC's. I had never produced a record before, so they were afraid to let me do it alone. So they brought him in to help, and it was just a problem. I mean, that's all it was to it. It was a problem. He didn't understand their music. He just didn't. He did not get it. He came in very late. He was there to get money, and it was apparent. He just wasn't into it. I'd been with the band. I'd cut their demos. I did all their live shows. We'd been together for a long time. And suddenly this outsider comes in who's not into it. He's just not. They saw him as the guy the label sent to make sure we weren't wasting their money.
You hadn't produced anything by that point?
No, nothing. I was a hot shit metal engineer in LA. 1984, my God, I think I was 23 years old. So they wouldn't let me produce the record on my own.
It names him on Wikipedia as like the producer, but then down below on personnel, it says you engineered it and you get production credit.
Yeah, and that's what happened. They brought him in right before we were going to start recording. And he just didn't, he wasn't into the music. That's all there was to it. He was not into it. So he would come and walk around and say a couple of things. And the guys at the band couldn't stand him except for CC because he was friends with CC. So they put up with it. But I mean, when he stopped coming, everybody was relieved.
But the record only takes like 10 days or whatever, right?
We spent 7 days recording it, and then Michael Wagener mixed it.
Right.
And I think Mike mixed the whole thing in 3 days or 4 days.
So if it's 6 days, then you're talking he just doesn't show up on the last day?
The last couple of days. By like the time the weekend hit, he was gone.
So are you saying you did all the production?
Yeah, he didn't do shit. I mean, that's my opinion. Again, I have a biased opinion. I do, and I'll admit it. Is it true? There's 2 sides to every story, so who knows?
Did Rick contribute anything to it that you remember? Is there anything that he brought to the table?
Yeah, the only thing I remember is that he hooked us up with Herman Rarebell so we could borrow his drums. And I was not a fan of that because I didn't like the sound of those drums at all. They were not the right drums for that band. They weren't. And
that's what you recorded with? Ricky played that kit?
I think he played it on some songs. I don't remember exactly because we kept moving stuff around. I was not a big fan of that kit, period.
And Rick would sit with you at the console on the days that he was there?
Yeah, and kind of walk around and make phone calls in the other room. And yeah, and now, he was one of those guys. He was from the school of, I'll be in the back room if you need me.